Good evening and welcome to another episode of Monkman Talks. This is going to be the second episode of the How to Act series. And I call it How to Act and Find Greener Pastures Without Delay. I'm going to read it to you, so you don't have to read it, but I suggest you read it because it helps with memory and with applying the ideals. Even if you just want to test them, you should test them. All right. Unless you have all the answers, then you don't need to test anything else in life. Okay. You asked me to answer a question, and I was explaining how to act applies to President Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and you released a bunch of squirrels for me to chase that should have already been solved and scratched off if you had watched and practiced how to act. If you understand how to act, you should realize that it crushes the Russian perspective and the Ukrainian perspective. You said you saw the video. Clearly, the video alone was not enough to teach you how to act. And so these next two episodes will first help you build on and exercise how to act philosophy in more life situations. And then in the third episode, I'll explain how to act applies to President Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Before you believe I am crazy, or before you bite off more than you can chew trying to understand me, realize that some people can be told and listen to the entire rules of a new card game and understand how to maneuver a winning strategy within those rules, which are brand new to them. Realize that some people can be told and listen to the entire rules of a complex strategy board game, including all of the various pieces and all of the various decks of cards used within the game and all the various situations in which those pieces are relevant, and understand all the moving parts to employ the best strategy to win. Then realize some people have trouble remembering how to play Go Fish, and that you may be one of those people. Think about which player you are before you believe I am crazy. Personally, I'm the kind of person who is not confident I'll pick up all the mechanics the first time a game is explained to me. I'm also happy to hyper-focus on that game until I understand without question how the game moves. I consider the scene from The Rock, where Sean Connery observed this wild incinerating machine that stood between him and freedom. He observed the machine and its timing until he understood how he can move through it without being devastatingly injured and quickly escape before being captured. If you have trouble keeping in mind the moving pieces of a game when you first play it, then you should continue to practice the game until you gain a greater mastery of it. Most people should continue to practice how to act before they try to apply the logic to complicated problems. Most people need to practice because it's sometimes necessary to relearn the meaning and definitions of words you may have been using incorrectly your whole life in order to correctly align your intentions and produce your desired results within the mechanisms of how to act. Practicing how to act in your daily life is my preferred method to master the mechanics by evaluating basic and simple personal problems. Practicing how to act in this controllable manner will allow you to see cause and effect more clearly and understand the mechanisms of I want, I believe, and I think in an almost real-time environment where you have a great amount of control. But the fun part starts when you can begin to focus on the input in your life, though you may not yet be prepared for full-scale fun. My goal in this writing is to further develop the concepts I started with how to act. How to act really explains the basic mechanics, but as it is hard for many people to understand and effectively maneuver the mechanics of a new game, it is difficult for most people to pick up on the mechanisms in how to act and begin solving complex problems. So we have I believe, I think, and I want gears that move our actions differently. Why isn't I know a gear that should be employed while acting? You'll find when communicating with someone or evaluating a problem that you Or they may say, I know, blank, no matter how confident you are or they are in what they know. For purposes of acting to achieve your goals and avoid delusion, consider what you know to be a belief, unless you can consistently prove in an understandable manner what you think you know. Repeat it. For purposes of acting to achieve your goals and avoid delusion, consider what you know to be a belief, unless you can consistently prove in an understandable manner what you think you know. Someone can declare they know the earth is the center of the universe, but because they said they know does not mean the statement and concept is above proving itself true in a repeatable and wholly understandable manner. As we discovered using observable sciences available, the people who knew the earth was the center of the universe could not prove the earth to be the center of the universe, and, in fact, observation would lead us to conclude the earth is not even the center of its own solar system. Now you should know to evaluate everything you think you know and everything others claim to know. Walking someone back from something they believe they know so you can share a true perspective supported by fact is not as easy as it should be. For now, I'll not delve into that maneuver. I believe is often the most seized and most difficult knot to break loose. When I say seized, it's tight. It's so tight you can't get it to move or budge a little bit. The goal is to change the approach from I believe to I think. The easiest knot to untie is the one that begins with I want. The goal is to change the approach from I want to I think. Someone practicing how to act should be able to identify when they or others say I want and break down the statement with critical thinking to reveal if it is even logical to want. I think is the most time and labor-intensive knot to wholly untie. When your wife says, I think you should take out the trash, you might recognize the opportunity to ask her to explain why she thinks you should take out the trash. Her answer should be wholly satisfying. If you ask her to explain her thought and she misses the fact that you have a grown son who is at home whose chore it is to take out the trash, you can label her thought as a belief because it was not thoughtful. She believed you should take out the trash because the trash is full. That maybe have been the only factor used in her thought process, and if she doesn't observe the other factors available to her, she may end up saying the earth is the center of the universe. Had she have thought about it, she would have included or excluded in her thought process that there is someone else whose chore it is to take out the trash, and she would have exercised them to do it before approaching you. A belief can be wrong, but a thought process by critical thinking should not be. While it's great to win a battle with your wife, that victory can open a can of worms requiring you to be very proficient in how to act in order to categorize and dismantle the worms and untie all the knots in your marriage. You don't want to open that can of worms until you're practiced. As you reflect on how to use the words believe, think, and want, and pursued goals based on those perspectives, and as you adjust how you use the words tomorrow, you are likely to find that a lot of your ideas regarding your marriage need to be realigned to match this philosophy in order for them to move and operate in unison in your life. My suggestion is, don't go there yet. Keep practicing your use and understanding of the words. If you catch someone saying they think, but cannot explain what they think or why they think it, then you should understand that they believe. You do not have to correct them in order for you to understand the difference. My next suggestion is to have fun. While you are focused on you and your use of the words in the course of living, you will meet someone who says, I don't think blank. Maybe they said, I don't think you are very smart. Then take them for face value of what they said that they don't think, and therefore they have decided to speak on something while acknowledging they did not complete a critical thinking process first. Meaning that they spoke about their belief, not a repeatedly consistent thought. The truer way for them to have said it may have been, I don't believe you are very smart. My wife says, I don't think you took the trash out. I immediately identify that she acknowledges she did not think or go on a fact-finding mission to verify if the trash was taken out by me, therefore she only believes. If my wife says, I don't think you are very smart, then I can tell her, I believe you when you say you don't think. If someone says, I think he is crazy, then they should be able to communicate a repeatable critical thinking process using only true facts, which is wholly understandable. If what you think proves to be marginally satisfiable, then either you need to articulate your idea to be better understood, or there is a flaw in your idea which other people recognize and you do not. Once you recognize your idea is flawed, you should stop declaring it as a true thought or risk being identified as delusional. Once you identify your idea is not wholly satisfying, it either needs articulated better or maybe there is a flaw in your idea and you need to go back to critical thinking to develop an explanation which repeats true and understandable every time before you can accurately say, I think again. Anytime someone in my life starts an objection to anything I'm saying or doing, or they begin with, I don't think, I completely and honestly believe that they did not and do not think. Therefore, they have no business or authority overriding what I do think. And it's fun to see the insult on their face when I repeat their own words back to them. Demanding and getting more substance or explanation from a person after that is not easy. This is usually the point when a person rolls their eyes and refuses to do any research to support their perspective or try to understand how many perspectives differ or how my perspective differs from theirs. They believe they are right and so do not recognize a need to think anymore. Except if you're familiar with the gears that move actions, you should be able to dismantle where and identify where a perspective is right or wrong and support your determination with proven facts and repeatable critical thinking. And that's pretty much all for this episode. That's 13 minutes, and I had a great time. And next episode coming up is going to be how to act without killing. So check in on that one. Thank you very much. And I'm going to get this uploaded right now. Adios.